Hi there, it's Meredith with the Buzz Magazine, and I'm here with Greg Lawrence with the Lawrence Law Group. Greg, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit about your firm. What do you guys specialize in, and how do you help people?
Well, we're a small firm. We have 2 attorneys. The firm's been around since 1998. I graduated law school in '94.
From?
University of Florida.
Go Gators.
That's right.
Okay.
And I started my practice working for insurance companies for about 4 or 5 years, and then decided to represent individuals. We focus on nursing home claims and injury claims of all types, but mostly nursing home claims.
Okay. So tell me a little bit more about that. So if somebody, for whatever reason, needs to place a family member into a nursing home, what advice would you have for them?
Well, first of all, there's a few things you want to take into consideration, and it's extremely important that family members be able to visit a loved one in a nursing home frequently.
Absolutely.
So there's a website, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services has a website, cms.gov, and it has a function where you can put in your zip code and then put in a radius, and then it'll list all the nursing homes for you that are in that radius. So you can find the ones that are convenient for you and family members to visit. And then, very importantly, the nursing homes are ranked on a 5-star rating system. 1 star, of course, being the worst. That's the bottom 20% of the nursing homes based on survey findings. And so it goes up to 5 stars.
So not just by price, but service, maybe like reports filed against them, things like that?
It's done by survey findings. So Florida's Agency for Healthcare Administration does 2 types of surveys. They do routine surveys, which are unannounced. The nursing home is not expecting the survey. And they also do complaint surveys. So when there is a complaint, they will go in and do a survey also. And so the 5-star ranking system is based on a number of things, including decline of residents' health, falls, infections, transfers to hospitals, dignity and administration, and a few other categories. And it ends up with a single rating of 1 to 5 stars.
Gotcha.
And so just to give you some perspective, Jacksonville, the 4-county area of Duval, Clay, St. Johns, and Nassau has exactly 50 nursing homes. And of those 50 nursing homes, based on the most recent survey findings, 8 of them are a 1-star facility. We've sued 5 of them.
Wow.
5 of the 8. Now, to compare, there are 10 5-star facilities we've never sued.
So the more stars, the better, basically.
The more stars, the better.
Okay. Well, how could, if somebody was, trying to make a decision, how could they make sure that their family member does get the best care?
Well, there's a few things that you want to do. One thing that we recommend is that you have the family member sign an authorization for the release of medical records so that a family member can speak freely with the nursing home staff and the resident's doctor or even other providers that they've had in the past about the person's condition. And so once you have that in your hand and you're able to speak freely with nursing home personnel, then you're armed with something very important in case there are problems, because otherwise you may get a stiff arm and they'll tell you for HIPAA reasons they can't talk to you. They can't talk to you.
Okay. Okay. So plan ahead, get that ahead of time.
It's very important to get something like that ahead of time so that you have the ability to talk to the nursing home.
Gotcha.
Then, once you've outlined some based on the 5-star rating system, you should go talk to them before your loved one gets admitted to the nursing home. Talk to them. Make sure that they have a lot of experience in the types of care that your loved one needs. Some of them will say, for example, that they do tracheostomy care, but they almost never have a person in their nursing home with tracheostomies. So although they do it, they're not well experienced.
It's not something they do a lot.
It's not something they do a lot.
Gotcha.
You should also ask to talk to the director of nursing or at least the assistant director of nursing and make sure that they're available to you. If they're not willing or able to meet with you before your loved one goes in the nursing home, I can promise you it's going to be very difficult once there are concerns.
Not a good sign.
No, not a good sign.
So, everyone wants to think that, their loved one is being taken care of and nothing bad would happen. But if you do suspect something is, going wrong, there's something that's not right, abuse, neglect, whatever, what should they do?
Well, first, if the problems aren't overly serious. Obviously, if something is very serious, the patient needs to be transferred either to a hospital or to another care provider. But if things aren't that serious, you're just having some communication difficulties or you're not sure the care is being done properly, if you've been armed with the authorization so that you can speak with people there and so that you can review records, you should ask for records. You should ask for the medication administration record or the treatment administration record and the nurse's notes. And so that way you can find out if things are being done the way they're supposed to be done. There's also a care plan that the nursing home has to implement within 21 days of the resident getting into the facility. And so you can look at that care plan and compare it to the records to make sure everything is being done correctly.
And the care plan comes from?
It comes from the nursing home itself,
Okay.
But they're required to do it by CMS, and it has to outline all of the different types of care that that particular person needs. Occupational therapy, speech therapy, physical therapy, certain nutrition needs, fall risks, skin breakdown risks. All of this is in the care plan. And so you can use that and compare it to the records. And if your concerns get to a little bit higher level, you should request a meeting with the director of nursing and with the nurse that staffed the wing of the facility where your loved one is residing and have a family meeting. And you can also speak with the doctor. So at a nursing home, the doctors are not actually employed by the nursing home. They are employed separately, but often they are assigned by the nursing home. So let's say your grandmother goes into ABC nursing home. There will be a doctor assigned as her primary care physician.
Yep.
So you can
My
speak to that
grandma's in an
person.
assisted living, so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. So there will be a doctor assigned, and you always have the ability to speak to that doctor, again, assuming that you've got an executed authorization that lets you do so.
So if they've done all this and something is going on, how could somebody contact you to help them out with, their issues?
Before contacting a lawyer, if things get serious, of course, the first thing you need to do is have your loved one moved, either to another nursing home or to a hospital, if appropriate.
Get them out of there.
Get them out of there is the first thing to do, because gut instincts are usually correct in these circumstances. And then the next thing that we recommend is that someone contact the Department of Children and Families, which is myflfamilies.com.
Okay.
It's Florida's Department of Children and Families, and there's an abuse hotline. And the number is 1-800-962-2873. And if you feel that there's been abuse or neglect, DCF will come in and do an investigation.
So most people think DCF and they think kids,
They
but
do.
you can use it for, the elderly, your family members as well.
Vulnerable adults of
Okay.
any time also come under the ambit of DCF. So it's Department of Children and Families, and they have an Adult Protective Services unit. And so they will go in and actually investigate, and they do a thorough job. I'm not the biggest fan of the government doing a good job with anything, but they do a pretty thorough job.
Good.
And they often come back with findings of neglect. Now, why that is important to do early is because once a lawyer gets involved, we can't really take any statements from nursing personnel at the nursing home
Okay.
for many, many, many months with a pre-suit process we have to go through. First, we have to review the records. Then we have to have an expert review the records and confirm that there is some neglect. Then we start a pre-suit process of 75 days. All in all, this tends to take about 180 days before we can file a lawsuit and request depositions.
Wow.
So we're
okay.
very far removed. DCF can do it immediately. And so they can memorialize these things before people start saying they don't remember.
And then you have that as additional,
We do.
resources.
We do.
Okay.
And it's usually very, very helpful because people have already been pinned down with statements. And, 200-300 days later, with a straight face, they can say they don't remember. But when DCF is there 10 days after an incident, it's pretty hard for them to say that.
Gotcha.
So it's extremely helpful.
Gotcha.
Once you've done that, once you've made sure that the care needs are taken care of, and you've contacted DCF, contacting a lawyer is a fine idea. And at that point, we do exactly what I said. We start with getting the records, and then we have them reviewed by a registered nurse. And sometimes the registered nurse says, this outcome was inevitable, and bed sores are a common example. There are some people for whom bed sores are not preventable. If you're at end of life if your kidney function is very poor, then you can't take in the kind of protein you need to fight off skin breakdown
Right.
because your kidneys can't take a high level of protein. So you're kind of in a catch-22. So even in a bed sores case, people think if they're a bed sores, there must have been neglect. There are people for whom bed sores are going to be inevitable. They're bedbound. And so the nursing home has to do a very thorough job of documenting it and documenting the nutrition they're providing. And if there's not a kidney issue, then increasing protein, increasing how often the person is repositioned, the type of mattress. They should use an air mattress, things like that. But the point I guess I'm making is that the expert has to review it. Once we get involved, we have to have an RN expert review the records just to make sure that there is something to this,
Right, that it's legitimate.
that it's legitimate.
Got it. Okay, so if somebody was to contact you, what do they do? Call you, go to your website?
There's 3 easy ways. The website is Lawyers-Jacksonville, and then the firm's phone number, 904-632-0077, and my cell number is 904
Oh, let me write this
Lawyers.
down.
It's
Hold
easy,
on.
904 Lawyers.
Really?
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, again, it's always an unfortunate scenario, I guess, if somebody does have to call you, but this has been really informative. Like I said, I have a family member, in assisted living, so good to know. Well, this is Meredith with Buzz Magazine signing off. Thank you.